Okay, so I was recently asked if I could explain the spread that I use. And basically the same spread I use for all my readings, and that's the Celtic Cross Spread, because that is the spread that I learned on when I got my first deck, and that was 2001, and it was this deck. I did learn on the traditional Rider-Waite, and I'm grateful for that, because now there's all these other decks, and I feel like if I didn't know the basic traditional meanings, I would struggle. But with each deck, you kind of learn to read the card and what scene is going on in the card. So I'm going to go through the spread card by, or like position by position, and explain it. And when I first started 20 years ago, I wrote down all my readings, and I had about 3 different books, because when I was given this deck, it didn't come with a guidebook. And so I found outside books to learn what each card meant, and sometimes you got to make keywords, just do whatever you got to do to learn it. So with the positions, the first position is the general atmosphere, and that is basically what's going on in your environment, and that is essentially the heart of the reading. And what crosses that is kind of what cuts that energy off. It's what stops this energy from being fully, I want to say exposed, but I don't know that that's necessarily the right word. It makes it cuts it off from being fully expressed. That's the word I wanted. So it's like, this is the very base of the reading, the heart of the reading is the general atmosphere, and then what crosses that. So it's like what's going on at the heart of the situation and what's stopping that from being fully realized. And I would even go to say, I'm not even going to try to interpret them yet, just because I want to get through this explanation. And then we have the foundation of the situation, which is basically the legs of the reading. It's what the whole reading is going to stand on. And when I learned, there was a couple of different versions you could pull, like ways you could lay them down, and this is the way I do it, and I've done it for 20 years, and it works for me. The passing influence is the influence that is passing away, the influence that is leaving. It's what you've previously been influenced by, basically. And then what's on your mind is what's on your mind, what's going on in your mental space, like what's going on in your head, and then the near future. And so that's basically the near future, I would say, is what, minutes to like maybe 6 months or so, just depending on however it resonates for you, because I think for everybody it's going to be different, and there's no one right way to do it. So don't let anybody tell you there is. So this is basically the first part of the reading, where you've got that general atmosphere, like what is at the heart of the situation and what's stopping that from being fully expressed. And then the foundation, that's the foundation of the whole reading, like that's the basis of the issue. And then the passing influence, the influence that is passing away or that is leaving. And then what's on your mind? Where is your head at? What's in your mental space? What's occupying your thoughts? And then the near future, like what's going to happen in the near future, or what's possible. Because readings are not set in stone and the energy changes. So this next one is the way you see the situation. And there, when I first learned, there was some conflict about these two cards here. The way you see the situation and the way other people see the situation. Sometimes they were reversed, and this is the way other people see, and this is the way you see, but that never felt right for me, so I didn't do it that way. But again, whatever works for you is okay. So this is the way you see the situation. This is the way you view the whole reading, the whole situation. This is your point of view. And then the way other people see the situation, this is other people's point of view. And then the emotions of the situation, that is the emotional state of this whole situation, the reading. It sums up the emotions in this reading. And then the final outcome is that final card. That's that final, because we have the near future and then the final outcome. And I always like to read the overall energy just to kind of give like an overview and overall. So that's how I do my spread specifically. So now I'm going to go back through and try to interpret this and like break it down if I can. So the general atmosphere, the heart of the situation, what's going on around you, is this Three of Cups. Three of Cups, and the thing is, all of these cards can kind of be read a different way. And so you have to use your intuition. You have to listen to whatever's coming up for you and read the card itself. So third party situation is sometimes the Three of Cups, but this looks like celebration. And for me, it looks like celebrating your differences. And so it really is the celebration of accepting people for who they are and allowing others to accept you for who you are. But what crosses that energy, what cuts that off from being fully expressed or realized, is this Five of Pentacles. And the Five of Pentacles is very much about this feeling left out in the cold. It's a feeling of sometimes being ostracized, or it's like this disconnect, this physical poverty combined with this spiritual wealth. And so I would say that's the energy, cutting that off. You're feeling left out. You're feeling different from people. You're feeling disconnected, maybe even physically, maybe spiritually, however it applies. And that is what is stopping this celebration energy from being fully realized. You can't allow others to accept you for who you are when you're struggling to accept yourself, or when you're feeling left out or different or left behind in some way. The foundation of that, the foundation of the whole reading, the legs this reading is standing on, is about the Three of Pentacles. And that's creative work done for money. It's teamwork. It's job well done. And so it could even be like being commissioned for something. And it would give this feeling of there's someone that kind of wants to work with you. Like you have some creative skills that could be utilized monetarily. The passing influence is this Four of Wands. So the passing influence that is falling away is about commitment and connection. So it could even be, I think, about, if it's in the past, then it could be about leaving this connection behind, or it could even be about finding your stability, finding your connectedness with other people. And so it kind of you have to look at all the rest of the cards and the way they flow into each other. And sometimes I do like to pull clarifying cards. And so sometimes if you get like a personal reading from me, you'll see that there are two cards in each position. Sometimes another tarot deck, sometimes it's an oracle deck, but that gives me a clarifier for each of the cards to kind of dig a little bit more into the information. So what's on your mind is this Six of Swords, and it's very clearly about leaving something behind. It's about moving away from the choppy waters and moving to the smoother waters. So it's also because of the way the swords are kind of weighing down the boat there, it could be about being weighed down by sadness or negativity. So that could even further constitute this passing influence of leaving this situation. And it even looks like this is a stage right here. So it's almost like it was a fabricated connection, or it was like a play that someone was putting on. And that even feeds into the Three of Cups, because again, sometimes it's a third party situation, but this Three of Cups is not being fully realized because there's some kind of spiritual or some kind of disconnect between the spiritual and the physical. And so it could very well mean that there was someone that was portraying themselves falsely, and you realized and are starting to move away from that energy. It's different for everyone. That's why I like clarifiers, because there's just so many different ways to read the information. Because I know someone else could come in and look at these cards and read them all completely different. And that's okay. It's not wrong. It's just people are different, and that's okay. The near future is Ace of Cups, which is new love. So that it's like, even with the yods is what those are called, being or falling out of the cup. It's like seeds planted by the divine. So it even could further constitute like new love. And that kind of goes back into what we're seeing over here. But the foundation of it all is like that you've got skills, that you are more willing to be a part of a team and to be creative. And so maybe it's about having to leave a situation or leaving someone behind that was kind of falsifying themselves in certain ways. But in the near future, it's all about, hey, but you've got this Ace of Cups. You've got this new love that's coming in the near future. It's not even talking about 20 years from now. That's not the near future. So then we go to the way you see the situation, and that's that Ten of Swords. The Ten of Swords is pretty brutal. It's betrayal. It's being stabbed in the back, literally. Sometimes it's about being a martyr for something. But the thing with the Ten of Swords is that the worst has happened, and now you can finally move on. And so that would even further confirm kind of what we're seeing here with this love in the past that was possibly staged, and moving away from chaos and negativity and entering into new love. And it could easily be seen how you would feel betrayed. That's how you would see the situation, that you were stabbed in the back. Others see the situation as the sun, and that's the dawn of the inner joy. So it could even be that other people around you are seeing the freedom of this situation before you're able to see it, because you're still in this betrayal energy. But others are like, okay, but this has actually opened up something for you. It's seeing the truth of the situation. It's almost even this feeling of coming back to life. And that's what I say, you have to listen to your intuition, because sometimes you're going to get phrases that come into your head and they don't necessarily mean the same thing or make sense, but they go with the reading. And because I say that because I heard back to life in my head, and then I thought, well, the sun does nourish and replenish things and give them life. They need the sun to grow, and you see the sunflowers here. So it is this feeling of back to life. So you can see here there's a definite disconnect from the way you see and the way other people see the situation. These are two very different cards. So you're still feeling a certain type of way and feeling betrayed by something, but they're seeing the blessing in disguise, basically. The emotions of the situation is the Seven of Swords. The Seven of Swords is the trickster hero. And so it's really about trust issues. And that is, that's definitely an emotion that this situation so far seems like it would be talking about. And it's about really not knowing who to trust. And then I always try to give advice when things like this come out, and it's about learning to pay attention to how people show up. Are they showing up as the trickster, or are they showing up as the hero? Are they showing up authentically? Because remember, this is almost staged in this past. This connection, this commitment, it's almost staged. And so now you have another stage. It's this trickster hero. It's trust issues. It's feeling betrayed. And so now you're wondering, who can you trust? And it's like relearning how to trust people. And then the final outcome is the King of Pentacles. And that is the king of money and king of physical investment. And the thing here, you see his boot is sticking out and it's armored. So that means he's not afraid to fight for what is his. He's a very stubborn, because it has the bulls there. So very stubborn, like Taurus energy, very earthy energy. And so we have this king of money, this king of pentacles, this king who will fight for what is his. But it's also about, I mean, this dude probably has a, I say dude, it could be masculine, and sometimes that applies to females. So it's not exactly gender specific, just kind of take it however. But like, this person is wealthy. They love pleasure. They love the finer things in life, but they also know how to fight for what's theirs. And so then that is kind of like, oh, well, you've got new love over here. And then at the end of it, in both of the future positions, the near future and then the final outcome, the final future, it's both like new love, and then it's this king of pentacles energy, this king of money, this king of investment. And so it's things like that that kind of like pull readings together. And then the overall energy is this devil, which is often about addictions, greed, it's feeling trapped, and I'm trying to cover up the nakedness so YouTube doesn't flag this. Sometimes it's about feeling controlled or imprisoned in some way, but it's like sometimes I have to think of the keywords in my head because, again, that's how I learned so long ago. And then I have to listen to my intuition and try to apply it to the card. So the keywords would be like addiction, greed, manipulation, imprisonment even, but then you have to kind of look in your intuition and see how that plays into the rest of the reading, or how it feels. And so the way it feels to me is like, because you're leaving this staged situation, because you're like walking away from negativity and people who necessarily couldn't accept you for who you are, it could very much be about like closing out narcissistic cycles in your life or abusive cycles. It could be about freeing yourself from this energy. You just kind of got to look at all of it and see. The only thing that kind of doesn't fit for me is this Three of Pentacles, because it really comes out of nowhere. It like doesn't seem to match with the rest of the reading, but it's the foundation of the whole thing. So this could be about you learning new skills. This could be about you expressing your creativity in a new way, because in some ways you've been set free from something. You've broken the chains of something, some kind of cycle or addiction or manipulation, or again, however it applies or resonates. So you just kind of got to look and see how it all fits together and how it flows. But it would seem that maybe what you're not realizing is that this situation, in essence, has freed you. The same way other people are recognizing the truth, you're still in your grief and still struggling through this Ten of Swords energy to heal from that, and still learning to trust yourself and to trust other people. And so once all of that healing is, like when you're on the road to healing, then maybe it's about you learning what gifts you have to offer. I also feel like it's because it's a teamwork card, it's about you giving effort. And you can't force other people to give you effort. But this is also about knowing that you did the best you could. You showed up truthfully and authentically, and it's not your fault that other people didn't. But it is about learning to trust your intuition and pay attention to the red flags so you can heal these trust issues, and so that you don't feel betrayed again by the same type of people, or this like repeating the same cycles, because of that devil card is kind of overlooking it all. So it feels like this has all been some part of a cycle that you've been needing to break, breaking away from narcissism or manipulation or however that fits. And so that's kind of how I do my readings. This is very bare bones. Again, I like to add a clarifying card to all of them, which I guess I'll do. And I'm going to grab like one of the oracle decks I use as a clarifier. Because sometimes if I throw down another tarot deck on top of all of this, then it makes the reading so long. And there's just almost an overload of information. And so I like to use an oracle deck, specifically this one, because it gives me information without being too long-winded, because I sure can talk. So we got surprises, something magical and unexpected is on its way. Let life surprise you. That would be the first card there. And I think I would even read that as because you've been showing up authentically, because you've been accepting of other people, life is going to surprise you in some way. What crosses that is compromise. Keep an open mind. It's not always about being right. Learn to compromise. That feels like, because it's sideways, because that compromise card is cutting off the surprises card, it's almost like there were parts of you that you had to compromise. And that is, in essence, part of what kept you disconnected in some way. Like, you have to know what parts of you will compromise and what parts of you won't. And stick to those. It feels like in this situation, there was some part of you that you were compromising, and that didn't sit right with you, with the universe, with whatever. The foundation is transform. Transform yourself from who you are to who you want to be. That's with that Three of Pentacles. So it is about maybe learning new skills, pursuing creative passions, or like putting your creative skills to use and transforming from someone who maybe doesn't pursue their creativity to someone who does. That's just an example of how these, I don't know if I was doing a reading, like a paid reading, I don't know that I would necessarily read these like this, I guess. I think it would be similar, but there's so much more information, especially when you pull more cards. And that's why I like having oracle cards after this initial, because it really clarifies the information. Because sometimes none of this makes sense to me, because I don't know the life of who I'm reading for. I'm just trying to figure out what the information is saying here and what my intuition is telling me as to how it applies. But the person receiving the reading, they have to take it for however it resonates with them, because my word is not law. I don't know you like you know you. So it's like this passing influence is clarified by practicality, be rooted in practical, capture the essentials of a situation or person. It's interesting that that comes out with this Four of Wands, because this is really connection, commitment, but again, it looks kind of staged. And then this is about being practical and capturing the essentials of a person. So interesting that, like, maybe it's about, I don't know. This is why I always stop this here. It feels like sometimes you just got to take the time and let it work itself out. Because I know in today's day and age, everybody just wants to go, 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 and they want all the information right now. But sometimes you've got to sit there and let the information soak in, or let it, like, I guess download is the word I want to use. It feels like you've always been very, and I say you because this is how I would read for who I was reading for. You've always been very practical. You've always been very mindful, but it is saying capture the essentials of a situation or person. And again, that's coming with the staged look of this card. So it's almost like there was something about this connection that you weren't seeing. You weren't capturing the essentials in some way. And that could be because they were manipulating. They were hiding who they truly were. And to clarify the Six of Swords, you have destiny. Whatever you're looking for is looking for you too. It was destined to happen. So that could even be like, that's what's in your mental space. That's what's on your mind is destiny. And it's interesting that when you leave the choppy waters behind, when you leave the chaos and turbulence behind, then destiny is there. Like what you seek is seeking you. So if you're seeking to leave half-assed, manipulative, disconnected relationships, once you make that choice for yourself to transform from whoever you were to whoever you want to be, then that's truly when you're on the path to your destiny. So you see how they all could kind of work together. And let's clarify the Ace of Cups for the near future, because that was like the first bright light of the reading is, oh, new love. This card jumped out upside down, so I'm just going to leave it, I guess. Traveling a new path may be what you've been searching for all along. So with it being upside down, it would make me feel like there's some kind of resistance around traveling a new path. And it makes sense because with this Six of Swords, it is a very heavy feeling with all those swords. And so the person who's leaving this situation could still be weighed down by negativity. And sometimes you got to get out of your own head and get out of your own way before you can go a new way or traverse a new path in life. And so it would also seem with this life path being upside down with the Ace of Cups, that like the new love will be found in an unexpected place. Even though there's some resistance here about traveling this new path, in essence, you're still being led to your destiny. It's just sometimes about getting out of your own way. And again, that's good to have clarifiers because it gives you a little bit more information. But again, every reading, everything you say is not going to resonate with every single person. You just kind of have to take it how it feels for you. So with the Ten of Swords, the card to clarify is burdens. Release the burdens you've been carrying. Give them to your angels. That's very interesting because you're feeling betrayed. You're seeing the situation as you were betrayed. But in essence, it's about you carrying a burden that needs released. And betrayal and grief is a heavy burden. And so it could also be about healing from those things and not carrying those emotional wounds with you into the future. It's kind of the feeling of heal what hurt you so you don't bleed on those who didn't cut you. That type of feeling. And then other people, remember, they see the sun. They see the truth of this. It's almost like other people are going to be like, oh, man, I always had a feeling. Or I always kind of thought that person was a shitbag. It's kind of that type of energy. Like they knew. Gosh, there's so many that are flying everywhere. But like, we only need 3 more cards, so I'm just going to keep the 3 that flipped over. So the way other people see the situation is memories. Don't let your memories prevent you from moving on. Choose to make new ones. The memories card being with the sun card for the way other people see the situation, it very much could be like other people remember a time when you were happier. They remember a time when you were sunny and free and your inner child was present and you didn't have all the burdens and the weight of betrayal around you. It's almost like, but remember before when you were happier, when you were freer. Remember, like sometimes you get in a relationship and you forget because you're in it, or you're like, you're following a certain pattern until you break out of that. you don't realize that you're in turbulence or you're in chaos until you're out of it and like, oh yeah, I used to be so much happier. It's kind of that type of feeling. And then to clarify the Seven of Swords, you've got time. Some things take time. Don't worry about it. It'll come at the right time. So it's really this feeling of trust issues, but that comes with time. So it's like, give yourself time, give yourself grace, and know that time does, I guess, heal all wounds. I don't know if it really does or not, but that's the saying. It definitely doesn't make the wounds quite as sharp and acute as they are when they first happen. It kind of dulls the pain, I guess, a little bit, time. But it also could be talking about divine timing because it said it'll come at the right time. And remember, that's the emotional position. So while emotionally there are trust issues, it's also about emotionally having faith that everything will come in the right time. Not to extend excessive worry about it, because that would in essence be another burden that you're choosing to carry. And the final outcome is this King of Pentacles, and that comes with information. A message is coming that will bring clarity and lift you from the fog. That's very interesting because that makes me feel like, get my bracelets out of the way here, makes me feel like this King of Pentacles, you're going to receive some kind of message or information from this person. There's some kind of message or something that's coming that will create or bring some clarity with it and kind of lift you from the fog. And that's interesting because you are a little bit, you know, in a fog. You're burdened by whatever this situation is that you just had to walk away from or move away from. And then as the overall is the devil energy, well, the overall is also depletion. Set boundaries with energy. Vampires know when to say no. So it really could be about cutting off people who make you feel trapped. Cutting off people who continually deplete you. It's about setting boundaries and learning when to say no. Learning to really protect your peace, to protect your energy, and to stop feeding energy vampires. And that also means breaking out of certain destructive and manipulative cycles that you've been in. So this whole thing, all of that paired together, has some sort of message about leaving behind cycles of the past and learning who you are, learning what you're capable of, and overcoming fear to step into a new path to find a new way of being, a new way of, Ace of Cups could even be that new love, could be new self-love. It could be about falling in love with yourself, falling in love with your life, but it does require doing something new. And there is, again, there's still some kind of resistance about this new path. So that is, again, why I love to just bring oracle cards after that to kind of clarify some of this information, because it's a lot of information all thrown together. But if you just break it down by each position, then it starts to make a little bit more sense. So because I was asked initially about the positions and explaining those, I'm going to do that again. So this is the wow, brain fart. What? I totally had a brain fart. It's the, oh my gosh. It's the heart of the issue. Why can't I think of the position? That's so weird. I've tried to record this video like so many times and it's just not as smooth as I would like. And so that's why I'm like, man, I just want to stop and start over. But the general atmosphere, oh my goodness, that was tough. The general atmosphere of the situation, which is the energy around the person that I'm reading for. And then what crosses that energy is what cuts that energy off, what stops that energy from being fully realized or expressed. And then the foundation of the situation is like the foundation of the whole reading. It's the legs that the reading has to stand on. And it's interesting that the foundation is also like right here in line with the way you see the situation. So even on like an esoteric level, that would tell me that the way your perception and this foundation, they go hand in hand. So it's like the foundation of the situation, but also your perception of it are the legs of the reading. So it's like your perception of your situation has so much influence on you in your life. The passing influence. This is the influence that you've been in, but it is passing away. It is moving away. You're moving away from this because we're always moving from the past to the future. And so that's the influence that you're moving away from. But it's the influence that you've been in. You're just moving away from it. And then what's on your mind? What's in your mental space? What's in your head? What's going on with your thoughts? And the near future, what's going on in the near future? What's coming in the near future? And then the way you see the situation, this is your perspective of this whole situation, your perspective of what's going on in your life. And the way other people see the situation is other people's perspective. And sometimes those are similar and sometimes they're very, very different. And then back to the emotions of the situation. This is the emotions that are influencing this situation. And then the final outcome. That's the final. There's like 2 cards in this reading that kind of represent the future. We've got the near future and then the final outcome. That's the far future. That's the way everything's going to end up all together. And then we've got the overall energies, the overlooking energies. So again, without pulling cards or anything, the whole reading itself is very much about moving away from something that was destructive and toxic and depleting you, and really figuring out what your skills are, what you're made of, and allowing yourself to be that, and allowing yourself to go in a new direction and really fall in love with yourself and your life and heal your trust issues and learn to trust yourself and know that you're going to be receiving some kind of message or some kind of information about this person. And it could be, I mean, really, it could be like it sounds like you've got some good friends here. They're like, oh man, we knew they were a shitbag. And then you're going to receive a message from this King of Pentacles like, oh, I always had a crush on you. Oh, really? Really? Something like that. Just some kind of information or some kind of clarity. That's just very, very quick. Very just trying to get this video out because it's been days. And I was like, oh, give me a few days. And it's been like 4. So I guess that's the way I do it. It's the Celtic Cross Spread, and it's the same way I've been doing it. And it works for me, and it gives me a lot of information, and so I keep using it. There are other spreads I've used, and I like them sometimes, but I don't like them enough to use them every day on a constant basis. And some people, I think they don't even really need spreads or want spreads. It's really just whatever works for you. And so don't ever let anybody tell you this is the right way to do that, because it's not. If you want to read all of this different, then do it. Whatever works for you. If you want to switch some of the positions because somehow they make more sense to you that way, then do it. It's specific for you. This is how I learned. This is intuitively what felt right for me. So do it your way. Don't let anybody tell you you're wrong, because the thing is, there's no one right way to do anything, just the same as there's no one right way to interpret all of these cards. All of these cards have very dualistic meanings, so there's always different ways to interpret them, depending on what's going on in the rest of the spread, what's going on in the cards around them. I hope that helped. I know I just kind of threw a lot at you, but I really hope that I answered the question of what the positions mean and this whole spread as a whole, because again, this is my favorite spread. It covers all the things for me. It gives me all the information I need. Well, I say that it gives me most of the information I need, because then I'm going to do it. I'm going to grab an oracle deck And this one doesn't have a guidebook. There's keywords on it. So I like to get ones with guidebooks and read them because it gives so much more specific information. And then I like to use cards that have keywords on them as well. So we'll just pull an oracle to kind of, I guess, close out this, I don't know what this is, this reading, this teaching, whatever it is. So the card we got is Walking Unscathed. You are fortunate. A trap was laid out for you, but you were too smart to fall for it. Protected, undamaged, and safe. And that's so interesting because you have the devil and you have depletion there. And so it would very much talk about a trap, possibly. I don't know. The thing is, because you have the Ten of Swords here, I don't know necessarily that you'd feel like you got out unscathed. I don't feel like you would be unscathed. But in the grand scheme of things, you're protected way more than you know. And in essence, you're being protected from something that you don't yet know all of the information about. The overall energy, because I always love to keep the overall energy, says path to plenty. You will have no problems getting what you need in life. You will be given more than enough. Abundance, luxury, and comfort. So again, it just kind of feeds, and that's very sparse. I like way more oracle cards than that. That's very sparse. But it would be about walking away from something that, or someone that intended to hurt you. And it even talks about going to this other path. Remember that life path there upside down. This other path, and this new path will be easier. You'll be given more. And it's very much this feeling of something that was meant to hurt you will prosper you. And so it just goes into the feeling of the whole reading about walking away from manipulative, toxic, draining energies and really remembering who you are, what you're capable of, and overcoming any fear or hesitation or lack mentalities that you have about what you deserve. And it's like breaking toxic cycles, breaking away from narcissistic relationships, and knowing that whatever was meant to hurt you will actually prosper you. There's so much more. If I was actually doing a reading, there's so much more I could pull out, but I'm not going to for the sake of time because this video is already longer than I expected it to be. But that's the thing with these. There's always more information to pull. And so sometimes whoever I'm reading for will get something from it a little bit different than what I said, and that's exactly the way it's supposed to be. Take it how it resonates for you. For some people, this could resonate as a relationship. For some people, this could resonate as a job. For some people, this could resonate as something completely different. But it really is, take it how it means for you. Because again, multiple things can be true at the same time. There's not one right answer for everything. And there's so many different ways these cards could be read. There's so many different viewpoints. And when you get into your intuition, you're going to start hearing or seeing or feeling information. Sometimes it makes sense, sometimes it doesn't. And it's about learning to just say it. And if it doesn't fit, if it doesn't resonate with the person, that's fine. But most of the time it will, because I've heard so many times, like, you just said this thing and it was just exactly the thing. It resonated so hard. And I'm just like, that's funny, because that's the thing. I was like, this doesn't make sense. It doesn't necessarily fit with this card, but that's what I'm hearing. So that's what I'm going to say. And it's almost always so on point that way. That was a very long-winded explanation, and that is also why my readings are so long. It's also why I don't post many pick-a-card readings on YouTube, because I am long-winded. And to do 3 decks to pick from, that would be a minimum of 3 hours for me. Probably more like 5, because I'm a chatty Cathy sometimes. Especially in the readings, because there's just so much information that you can intuitively pull out of it. but I'm not going to because I'm going to stop it here. So I really hope that helped explain the positions and what they mean. And then it's good if you have a tarot deck with a guidebook because it can kind of help you, give you the keywords needed for each position. And again, when I started writing them down, I'd write down the position, like the general atmosphere, the card, and what the card meant. And then I just do that. I did that for probably 2 years, and it really helped hammer that in. So do it however it feels best for you, and don't let anybody tell you that you're doing it wrong. Just do it however you want. This is how I do it. This is how it works for me. And I like the information that I receive from the Celtic Cross Tarot, or the spread. And so I will probably continue to use that spread because I just like all the information it gives me. So that's that. Yeah, so long-winded. I probably said so many more words than I needed to, but I hope all that made sense. I love you so much, and I hope that helps.